Previously, when Almondite brought the totally heartbroken Lewellyn to her bedroom, Lewellyn became aggressive and began to beat Almondite, asking why he hadn't told her earlier that her mother was alive all this time, and that she had never loved her as her daughter. Observing Lewellyn's very delicate situation, Almondite began to weep and embraced her in response, confessing that he had made mistakes. He apologized to her, declaring that he would never betray or leave her again in the future. However, Lewellyn became more aggressive and begged him to leave her alone, and as Almondite reluctantly left the room, the dejected Lewellyn approached the window and reflected on whether she should commit suicide by jumping out of the window. Later, when Lewellyn arrived at an abandoned lake, she felt so miserable that she committed suicide by her own hand. Immersing deep into the lake, she recalled all the hellish parts of her memories, where she had been humiliated by the royal members and even by the servants, and by losing her consciousness, she wondered if it would be okay to die so silent. Meanwhile, when Ernell came to check on Lewellyn after learning that she was so sad after her private meeting with her mother, he was shocked to find that the room was completely wrecked and Lewellyn was nowhere to be found. So, let's dive into the parts 132 to 136 of the manhwa, The Secret Bedroom of the Forsaken Princess. Observing the condition of Lewellyn's bedroom, the worried Ernell starts to search for her. Suddenly, he flinches heavily at sensing a powerful aura of Lewellyn from the window's direction. Without delay, he springs towards the window and jumps from the second floor like a hero who is ready to save a damsel in distress. Landing on the ground floor, Ernell begins to shout Lewellyn's name and runs into the forest. As Ernell arrives at the same lake, he finds Lewellyn's body floating on the lake's surface. Witnessing this, he enters the water without hesitation. By lifting Lewellyn's body, Ernell begs her to open her eyes. Amid this, he finds a lot of blood coming from her body. Not wanting to believe what he's seeing, he pleads even more with her to open her eyes and talk to him. Weeping heavily, Ernell confirms that the feeling he is experiencing now has to be his love for Lewellyn. He further mutters that he knew she would be heartbroken after meeting her shameless mother and learning her true nature, but he never thought she would commit suicide to end her misery. Since he knows how he feels, he can't just let her die like this. For that, he's going to inject a massive amount of intimate power she has never felt before. Even if his body breaks, he will save her life. With this statement, Ernell begins to inject massive power into Lewellyn's body. The scene then transitions outside the Holy Land's palace. Here, Almondite observes Ernell with Lewellyn in his hands. As Almondite tries to ask what happened to Lewellyn, Ernell mentions that they first need to move her to a warm place. Leaving the scene, Ernell instructs Almondite to ask his maids to bring warm water and clean linens to his room. Understanding the situation, Almondite clenches his fist in anger, and as he lowers his gaze, he becomes ready to call the maids. He pleads with Ernell to save Lewellyn at any cost. Listening to this, Ernell reflects that Almondite is a man who is unable to do anything even when his loved one is right in front of him like this. Besides, he is a man filled with frustration, anger, and regret. As Ernell leaves, he suggests Almondite change his wet clothes, as he doesn't want two people in danger at the same time. Meanwhile, inside the visitor's palace, everyone is shocked to learn that Lewellyn has collapsed. Confused, Bryant ministers ask who the culprit is and what they should do now. The ministers then begin to conspire against Lewellyn, mentioning that it's good for them, as they intended to exclude the princess from the negotiation anyway. To this, Knight Aaron reflects that Bryant ministers are ignorant, having been hired solely on the recommendation of Queen Pamela and Duke Brian. To teach the ministers a lesson, Aaron informs them that the Thessalians agreed to postpone negotiations until the princess recovers. Hence, the church also agrees to resume talks when the princess recovers. As the ministers try to object, Aaron delivers a piercing gaze and mentions that it's an order from the king of Thessaly. Meanwhile, in Ernell's bedroom, we see that Ernell has changed Lewellyn's wet clothes and treated her injured parts with handmade medicines. Embracing her body, he reflects that he should have been there sooner. And even though she is a lovely woman, she must have been weeping inside from holding on to her wounds. However, he hopes this poor woman wakes up and the three-legged super cycle begins. And this time, Ernell won't let her feel lonely anymore. Amid this, Lewellyn gradually opens her eyes. As she finds herself in Ernell's arms, she asks where she is. Shocked with wide eyes, he suddenly embraces her and thanks God for saving her. As Ernell continues to offer his thanks to God by embracing her, Lewellyn turns her eyes to emotionless ones and begins to repeat Ernell's name in a shallow voice. She then unexpectedly asks why Ernell saved her life, which causes him to flinch with horrified eyes. Suddenly, the stigma behind Lewellyn's neck gets activated, as it sends intolerable shocks through her body. She weeps heavily and begs Ernell to do something to stop this pain. Observing her situation, he reflects that the power he injected inside her has begun to run wild, as it has already combined with her curse's powers, and since it was injected in large quantity, it will be more painful. Besides, she is a person cursed when abandoned by her loved ones. If she can't find the one who put the curse on her, she will be destined to endure this intimacy with someone for the rest of her life. clenching Lewellyn's arm. Ernell asks who she thinks she was loving after doing something that puts her back in hell. Plus, what she wants isn't as simple as he thought, because it's not an emotion they should enjoy, as he had never learned to love due to his inauspicious birth. Stating this, Ernell starts to cry and asks if he should kill her again or give her a warm hug. Moreover, he will make sure she doesn't get sick. Assuming that Lewellyn has already made her mind to end her life, Ernell reflects that if death can be a comfort to her, he will gladly show some mercy by ending it with his hands. However, contrary to this, Lewellyn expresses that she wants him to embrace her. Hearing her request, Ernell reluctantly closes his eyes and begins to remove Lewellyn's clothes. Amid this, Lewellyn reflects that despite it seeming like they are doing this for love, in fact, it is closer to unraveling the pain tangled between them. On top of that, he always lightens the mood with sweet words whenever he does something. From here, the scene shifts to a few weeks later, where Ernell reflects that it's been a few weeks, and daily life continues as if nothing has happened. Even the Holy Land Garden's flowers fall and bloom again. However, there is only one person who isn't changing, and that is Lewellyn, who seems to be getting better and better every week, and it is heartbreaking to see her suffering from a high fever. Besides, when Lewellyn's uncle, the king of Thessaly, her shameless and hypocritical mother Delphina, and even her only brother Alpheus get informed about this, no one among them checks if the princess is alive or not. However, Almondite has been taking care of Lewellyn from the beginning. Plus, he has stopped eating and keeps praying to God to save Lewellyn's life. Amid this, Knight Eren arrives, and upon observing a gentle side of Ernell, he compliments Ernell by mentioning that he is a person who cares for others. And as Ernell doesn't respond, Eren delivers a long sigh. Approaching, Eren asks why Ernell didn't consult with him before he poured all his energy into the princess to save her, refilling Ernell's energy with his. Eren further asks if he did it because he believed that he would give his powers to him. Pushing Eren's hand away, Ernell states he doesn't need it. Pissed, Eren reflects that this headache is different from those ones where he flirts with various girls every day. Further, Ernell questions Eren by asking why he sent Delphina and Joel to the trading post by informing them that the meeting will be held after the princess recovers. To this, Eren mentions that Delphina is not worried at all about what has happened to her daughter. Moreover, Eren honestly feels sorry for Lewellyn and Ernell's situations. Meanwhile, outside the palace, where Dane informs Brigent's maids that Lewellyn tried to commit suicide. Besides, Ernell told the Holy Land's maids to dispose of the princess's blood-clotted clothes secretly. Not believing it, Lewellyn's maids state that they were rumors that she had a fever or that she got hurt by falling from the stairs. To this, Rattan mentions that the Holy Land's maids lied about the incident, as what really happened was that the princess was blamed by the diplomats for the failed talks on her. And since the time she met the Thessalian king alone, she has been shedding tears often and not eating properly. Besides, none of the princess's relatives, even her brother Alpheus, came to check if she is alive or not. Hearing this, one of the maids shivers heavily, asking if it means that their princess is also abandoned by the Thessalian. And despite she has been waiting so long to meet her brother, she became even more lonely in her motherland. And what will they do if their princess dies before them in a foreign land? Plus, if they had known this would happen, they would have disobeyed their princess's order and followed her there. Feeling guilty, Paula reflects that she was so eager to meet her little brother, but she became like this. Even Rattan feels gloomy, recalling his first warm meeting with her, where she comforted him for his sister's death. Observing that everyone becomes heartbroken, Dane chastises them by declaring that their princess is not an abandoned princess. Shocked, Paulo asks since when Dane has been so fond of the princess. Annoyed, Dane starts criticizing the royal family, mentioning that they ridiculed their princess for 5 years in Brigent. Shouting, he adds that they also treated the princess like an insect for the last 5 years. And as the other knights observe that the Thessalian maids surround them, Paulo and Rattan beg Dane to calm down. Amid this, Knight Eren enters the scene from behind, and as the maids see Eren's presence, they spring at him, asking if their princess has gained consciousness or not. To this, Eren doesn't respond but scrutinizes the dirty and torn clothes of the knights and the maids, and as he witnesses clear dark circles under their eyes due to the lack of sleep, he wonders if they came from Brigent in a hurry without any rest. Smiling, Eren informs them that Princess Lewellyn has gotten a lot better and that she will probably open her eyes in a few days. Hearing this, Paulo suggests everyone wipe away their tears and prepare to welcome the princess. Halting, Eren asks if they are that worried about the princess. In response, Paulo and Dane mention that their joy is obvious, as Princess Lewellyn is their proud princess. Meanwhile, inside Lewellyn's bedroom, we see that Almondite is doing a great job by taking care of Lewellyn. Breathing heavily, Lewellyn mutters the word mother, begging her to not abandon her. Hearing this, Almondite caresses Lewellyn's head, wondering how his bold little girl ended up like this. With this, Almondite recalls the time when he first went to the Brigent Palace with his father, which was 12 years ago. and they went there for his marriage proposal to Lewellyn. Despite he was a kid at that time, he had a vague idea of what marriage meant to the noble families, as it was something he had to accept regardless of his likes and dislikes. However, he still can't forget that day, as it was the moment when he first met his small and noble princess for the first time. And although Almondite didn't know what love was at that time, he could tell that she was infinitely beautiful. At that time, even though they met for the first time, they sensed a strong bond between them. With that, they began to meet often and made unforgettable memories at that palace. And they also began to call each other by nicknames, as if they were lovers. Plus, she might have had a different mind than him, as she couldn't show her displeasure because she was fulfilling her duties as a princess. Besides, when he heard his nickname being called by her in an affectionate way, he felt as happy as if he had a place called home. Moreover, she asked him to promise her that he would become a national secretary and stay together with her forever. And as time passed, Almondite grew up watching Lewellyn grow more beautifully. Witnessing that, his heart started to pound with excitement at the thought that she would soon become his beloved wife, who would rule Brigent by becoming its king, while he would be her assistant. And for that, he patiently dreamed for so many nights that one day the church bell would ring when he would come to pick her up. Suddenly, those 2 letters by the priest would call him inside. And when he would enter, he would get mesmerized by his little princess's beauty in a bride's dress, who would have become the most beautiful woman in the entire world for him. However, Almondite's efforts went in a totally wrong direction, which made his lovable Lewellyn so miserable that she tried to end her precious life. As we wrap up today's segment, thank you for being with us until the very end. I'll be sharing fresh videos of this manga and exciting new series every weekend. Your support is invaluable, so please subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Your encouragement keeps the channel thriving, and I appreciate it immensely. Until next time, take care and goodbye.